And we are back live on We Talk Live. I'm Jimmy Young.
And I'm Curt from Cannabis.net.
.nut or .net?
.net. We got our shirts on. We got Jamaica going.
We have a lot of Jamaica.
Who's up next, Jimmy?
That was actually a lot of fun hanging out with you and Curt in Jamaica. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on, and we will have Bruce, your friend Bruce, on the phone with us at the end of the lesson. By the way, we don't know what's going to happen, and that's why we love live streams. It's never a dull moment. But I know we are connecting with the Vote Pro Pot guys out of D.C. These guys have had a podcast for a number of years. They've got quite a big following, and I believe we've got Jay on the phone. Jay, are you there with us now?
Hey, what do you say, Jimmy? What's going on, brother?
There they are. There's our guys. Introduce yourselves to everybody, because it's all three of you, right?
We're all here.
I'm Phil Adams.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm Andrew Makrides.
And Phil, are you there too, Phil Adams?
Yep.
So
I sounded first. It just kind of went into either, I guess.
Yeah, that's all right. You know what? We've got, three different people in three different locations, and we're talking to people all over the world right now. That's the nature of the Internet, and we do the best job we can of connecting everybody to talk about this. And I think at this point, you guys are Vote Pro Pot. That's the name of your podcast. Why don't you tell us, first of all, where we can find that, just in case we get into it and we're not able to wrap it up. But first, get yourselves a plug out there.
Sure. Go ahead, Jay. You got this.
You can find us at votepropot.com, and you can, if you go to our website, we've got a bunch of information on voting pro pot, obviously, and we've also got a link to our podcast.
Terrific. And you guys do this once a week, once a month? How often do you do this podcast?
We do this once a week. We have a full episode, and then another time a week we have what we call a little mini. It's just a few minutes, a real quick hit, and once a week it comes out. The main one comes out on Thursdays, and we get a little more in depth with that and have a little more fun with it.
Real quick, congratulations, by the way, to the D.C. area. I know you guys have a team called the Washington Nationals in the World Series this year, taking on either New York or Houston, whoever the American League comes out of. So congratulations on that.
Yeah,
thank you, and that's very nice coming from a Sox fan.
Yeah, or you assume from yes, and of course I am. And by the way, until someone wins the World Series in 2019, we are still the defending champions, even though we embarrassed ourselves for $230 million worth of payroll. Guys, there's a lot going on in D.C. right now. What's that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jenny.
All right. So there's a lot going on right now in Washington, D.C. Regarding the Safe Banking Act that did pass the U.S. House of Representatives. It moves on to the Senate. We've got Mitch McConnell going to California and doing lunch with the cannabis industry, which I found fascinating. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall or a fly on the table for that part. What's your feeling down there? Can you taste the temperature of the cannabis community in the Washington, D.C. area? And do you think the Republican-led Congress of the Senate will actually pass this at some point?
Well, I believe that Mitch, it's sort of he has always been against the legalization of cannabis and won't even let it even go to committee. So, but now they did add a few things to the bill. One is a gun act.
Right.
I believe it's a Gun Protection Act.
Yep.
Which I think might sweeten the pot for him. But I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't back it, but I believe he will.
Well, let's hope so. And what about the stigma in that greater Washington, D.C.? Of course, in the District of Columbia, it's okay to use it, correct?
That's right. It's you can use it. You can grow enough for your own use, and selling it.
But you can't sell it. Not in D.C.
You can gift it, though, right?
You can gift it, can't you?
Right.
You could buy a T-shirt for $100 and get a free little package with it. You know?
Isn't it
Well,
funny?
I volunteered with the D.C. Cannabis campaign when they started the ballot initiative, and the problem was the D.C. city, the Congress, which controls the city council, like a state house would for any other city. They said you cannot spend any city money setting up regulations for a adult use industry. So the only thing they could do was legalize home grow and be able to give it away, but you can't sell it. So that's where it stands now. And there's also a legal medical marijuana industry in D.C.
And Maryland and Virginia, because I know all you guys are living in different states down there. Maryland has a medical program, correct?
Maryland has a medical. The adult use regulations have been written up, but they didn't vote on it this year. Next year, hopefully it will. As it stands now, it does allow for home grow. But the great Commonwealth of Virginia is still an illegal state. But yes, that's changing.
I live in Virginia, Jimmy. This is Jay, and they have some very strict laws here. Now, they claim that they have a medical program, but it's a joke. It's no THC, CBD, but it's very difficult to get. You have to be dying basically to get it. And the laws in Virginia are incredibly strict. If you're caught with more than a half an ounce, so you got 3/4 of an ounce in your car, it's a 1-year mandatory and $2,500 fine. It's a felony.
That's crazy. It is the 21st century, right? I mean, I just,
you would think.
It's crazy.
Hey, you guys, along with Marijuana Moment, really follow the D.C. stuff, so I have to ask, it's kind of a standard question. What's your best guess on the federal law change as far as when, and then how is it done? Executive order, descheduling, an act of Congress. What's your best guess if you were in Vegas putting a chip down on a table? What's your best guess? Maybe Jay first.
I would. It's really just. You're talking about federal, right?
Yeah, absolutely, the big one, the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't have any idea. I would think it's going to come in incrementally, like so many other things do, because it's so much more palatable that way. So I can see Congress dropping little laws here and there that take steps, but I don't think any big sweeping change is going to come. I don't see it.
Well,
Andrew, what do you?
Go ahead, you guys.
Well, this is Andrew. I believe that one of the parties might pick, or the Democratic Party is definitely picking up. They've been pro-cannabis reform for quite some time, and we're seeing more and more Republicans changing their tune, jumping on the bandwagon, or jumping in front of the parade, as we like to say. But I don't see it happening this year, and maybe next year, but we'll see. If it happens, it's going to be out of nowhere. It's going to be out of left field.
We keep people as updated as we can, week by week, on what's going on. Andrew's a wealth of knowledge on this stuff, and I think as far as being persuasive is part of what we try to do, and part of what my role in this, being the resident conservative of the three of us, is to speak to conservatives in language that conservatives understand and say, come on, fellas, this is an individual liberty issue. This is constitutionality, and there's a very strong conservative argument to be made for it. So, we all play our parts in this, and I think the people who listen in get a lot of different perspectives on it.
I'm going to give you a curveball and get you off politics. One at a time. If you were stranded on a deserted island and could only take one strain of cannabis with you for the rest of your life, what's the one strain? I'll let you each say one name that you would bring with you, your favorite.
This is Jay, and I'm an edibles guy, so I'm going to go with gummies, man.
Fair enough.
Okay. Andrew?
I have to go with the sour diesel.
Sour D. Good choice.
And Phil?
Is there a Scarlett Johansson strain?
She delivers it on Fridays.
Yeah, I've been on that one.
I changed my mind. No more sour diesel.
Hey,
It's my birthday cake, actually.
Yeah.
I have fun with that.
as long as you have responsible fun with this product, that's what we preach through Pro Cannabis Media, is responsible use of an adult product. Get yourself educated. That's one of the reasons why Jay and I bonded on the first call that we actually had.
Jay's going to be living on coconuts and gummy bears on this island, so...
It is what it is.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's your governor thinking?
Great question about Charlie Baker.
Just banning vape pens for 4 months.
So I would say that what Charlie Baker and the mayor of Boston, Mayor Walsh has done, they've done a great job of retarding the cannabis industry since the very beginning. They were not in favor of it at all, ever. They both have some history with substance abuse. And another reason why they are trying to do everything they can to slow down the growth of this industry. And he did it, calling him for a public health emergency. And by the way, there has been now one official death in Massachusetts from this horrible lung disease that's out there. And, we can't ignore it. But again, his knee-jerk reaction was overplayed. There are now some litigation, or at least talk about litigation about this, and trying to get the opportunity for the vaping stores to perhaps survive this. He should have put aside an emergency fund to float the vaping business as opposed to what he did, which was completely strangle it. But he didn't do it that way. He didn't do it that way. I didn't vote for him, by the way. Sorry. He's not.
I read an article this week, and they're saying it may not be the additives after all as much as the mechanical cartridge itself.
Which are the
it's going back to the heavy metals,
right? And also the cheap materials that are being used. That we talked. It's funny. I was at the New England Cannabis Convention a few weekends ago, and I was talking to a supplier up there, and he explained to me that his cartridges come from China too, but they cost him $3.20 per cartridge, as opposed to the lowest grade, which are 88 cents, and that's a big difference.
No kidding.
Right. And needless to say, no one is inspecting or regulating those cartridges.
Well, we've been following the whole cartridge thing very closely, Jimmy. And people that want to find out what's going on week to week should check out our show, because we keep an update pretty much in the last month or two. Every week we've had a story on it because it's changing constantly.
Right. Hey, guys, we thank you so much for taking some of your time out on a Thursday night to join us. I do hope we can continue these conversations both on future shows here up in the Boston area, and I look forward to chit-chatting with you guys on your podcast in the near future. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, all three of you guys, for joining us, and we're going to so again, thank you for joining us, guys, and we'll be in touch soon. Okay.
One last thing. We are now selling Vote Pro Podcast coffee mugs available on our website. And a question to you: did Steve D'Angelo really cut off his ponytails?
Not that I'm aware of. Haven't heard that one.
No, not at all. We actually talked to him. Yeah, 2 weeks ago we were hanging out with him, and he has both ponytails, and unless they're fake and they are attached to his hat, because he's always wearing his hat.
And he gets pretty fired up if you ask him if hippie culture needs to go away.
That's right. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it. Those are the Vote Pro Pot guys from the Washington, D.C. They're all three of them are old musicians too.
They kind of have a Grateful Dead look to them. People were watching the screen,
and there's nothing wrong with that either.
No,
okay,
not at all.
Absolutely not.
We are Pro Cannabis Media.